gluten is the big thing now. Is it really bad, or is it kind of the next thing?
Gluten is really bad. It is not the next big thing. You know, I just did a big one about dairy is the new gluten and sugar is the new gluten. Here's the thing. I mean, if we want to really, really change the world, we'd eat more vegetables, get some sleep, drink more water, take out the gluten, and get the sugar impact down. But gluten is amazing. In the Virgin diet, you know, gluten's of course a big offender, and there's a variety of different ways we can become intolerant to gluten. It can just be genetic. You've got celiac disease or gluten intolerance. You can develop a immune intolerance to wheat. But I'll tell you, there's no simple way to test for it that looks at all of those different things. And I found that when people pull gluten out and really pull it out, because they stick it in the silliest places. I mean, Pringles, really? Does it have to be there? McDonald's, do you have to put it on your French fries? Really? But it's addictive. You know, it's a drug, just like dairy is and sugar is. There's glutamorphines, has an opiate-like effect on your brain. You really do get addicted to the French fries, to the pizza. And what gluten does is it's very pro-inflammatory. It's sticky. So we've hybridized our wheat. So we've concentrated the gluten. It's not like I can go to Italy and eat all the gluten I want. No problem. Don't notice it. No inflammation. I eat it here. I'm inflamed. It's within a couple hours. My stomach hurts. I'm inflamed. I don't have gluten intolerance. I don't have any of the test things. 90% of the people I pull off gluten, when we go back and challenge a couple weeks later, they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea. Things that they'd had problems with forever. I had a gal who had chronic tendonitis. She'd gone for a year to physical therapy, gone in a couple of weeks, pulling gluten out. So gluten does a couple things. It actually makes your gut wall more permeable, your small intestine more permeable, so you can become intolerant to other foods, right? So there's a problem. It can cause leptin resistance, which means you can't hear leptin, so you're going to be hungrier. It's got a very sticky amylopectin A, and it causes insulin resistance. So it can be pro-inflammatory. It can create problems with diabetes, your appetite, food intolerance. It's got a drug-like effect on the brain. There's nothing positive to say about it. The only thing worse than gluten are some of these silly gluten-free foods that people are spending a fortune on thinking they're, I was like, you weren't eating cookies and muffins and cupcakes before, so don't eat them now. Yeah. You know, the best gluten-free foods are things that don't have to say gluten-free on them, because like wild rice never had gluten, or quinoa, or any of these things, and lentils and legumes and pumpkin. You don't need to go buy gluten-free stuff now, because you know, again, that's got its own host of problems.
Well, that was my next question. That's the next big business now. What's in those foods?
Yeah.
Now that, I mean, because I've looked at the labels of some and it says gluten-free on there, but when you look at the label, you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
this
it's got rice.
It's not healthy.
A lot of it has corn flour, and corn's got gluten in it, a different type of gluten, but it's very similar response to wheat gluten. So in lowering your sugar impact, if you look at a lot of these gluten-free products, they have very high sugar impact, a big dump on your blood sugar, because they've got, you know, ground up rice flour, potato flour, corn flour. They are not the answer there. I mean, if you look at what gluten-free is, it's really vegetables, some berries, some nuts and seeds, some wild fish. That's what gluten-free should be. But it has become a big business, and it's expensive. It's crazy. And so to me, that's what I tell people. Let's if you're doing a whole wheat wrap, okay, do a rice wrap. If you're doing pasta, do some quinoa pasta. But if you forget the cookies, all right, just forget the cookies, forget it. Have some nuts, retrain your taste buds, you know.